Welcome to Purpose by Design with Dr. Pamela Henkel, a platform for people to share their stories, a place where change and healing can begin. Dr. Pamela stands on the fact that we are here on purpose, with a purpose by design, and not by default.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Purpose by Design. I am Dr. Pamela Henkel, and as I have told you over and over again, you are here on purpose with a purpose by design. Isn't that good to know? And as always, we have another amazing guest. God just always produces such incredible folks to come on the program here and share their stories, talk about their ministries. It's always just amazing to me how he continues to feed such incredible stories, episodes into Purpose by Design. I'm eternally grateful. And I know that y'all pray for that for me. And you reach out to me and you're like, hey, this person might be great for the podcast. That person might be great for the podcast. So I really appreciate that. And so before I introduce or welcome my guest, I want to ask you to pause for just a moment. And if you would, please, would you hit that little subscribe button? Would you like it and share it, please? You could send this link live or later to somebody who you know needs to hear this story. Let's take Purpose by Design around the world. Let's send the message that these stories, that these type of shows, of podcasts, are needed in the earth. So with that, I am so excited to welcome a good friend of mine. I've also had the treasure of being a spiritual mentor to her for some time now. And I find her to be one of the most amazing people that I know because of her faith and her resilience and her walk with God, just so close and looking to him as the author and finisher of her faith, no matter what the circumstances are round about her. Miss Darcy, come on in here. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm excited too. Thank you. You are such a great mentor. By the way, I've grown so much since I've met you, and it's been wonderful, just wonderful. Yes.
Oh, you are so sweet. Well, I'll tell you what. The mentor is only as good as the mentee, and when the person that you are praying for and investing that mentorship into is open to the things of God and is willing to do literally what you're saying needs to be done or what you feel the leading of the Holy Spirit is, and they do it, God is just there to show up and show off in their lives. And so I appreciate you saying that about me, but I know at the end of the day that you love God and that you follow after him and you do what he says. And so when we come together for a Holy Ghost session, it's always just, anointed and powerful. And I'm so
Yes.
grateful for that. And so I would like to just right away just toss things over to you and say, here's Darcy. And Darcy, would you please share a little bit about you? Tell those that are listening that don't know you, that are watching that don't know you, a little bit about you, and then let's jump into your healing story because it's phenomenal.
Yes. I was saved in 1987, and I won't go into that detail after that right yet because I'm going to talk about the healing first. I did fall away for some years and came back to the Lord later in life. But 15 years ago, I fell backwards down my basement steps, and I had really damaged my back. I had hit in 3 different places, and I laid at the bottom of the steps for many hours because nobody was home. So my feet were getting numb right away, and so I knew I did something bad. And I actually said out loud, "Oh my Lord, I've really done something bad. This time it's bad." And so I wasn't able to climb up the stairs. And then a few hours later, I just forced myself to go step by step. And that was very difficult because I was screaming with each step. And then I just laid as I got to the top, I just laid flat. That was the best way I could do it. I didn't have a phone near me because my phone flew out of my hand. So that was kind of tough. And by the time I got to the hospital, I had a scan done, and there were bones broken in many pieces. And so it looked like it was blown up. And then there was a sharp piece that almost looked like an arrowhead pressing up against my spinal cord, like pushed it over. So I ended up in a shell for 9 months, and just to try to fuse that back together. And there was a lot of nerve damage. That was the beginning of a very hard 15 years of nerve damage. If anybody knows what that's like, they know that it is some of the worst pain is nerve pain.
Yeah.
So it would go everywhere. It would, the hard part was it would go down my legs, down my arms, in my hands, and up towards my brain. And so if I got excited about anything, I would get this very strange feeling that I can't even describe, that made me never want to get excited. So I trained myself not to get excited about something because that would happen. And so that was a hard existence. But then I just, it became a way of life because I thought that was it for me. But sleeping, there was a 2-year period where I did not sleep at all. I slept probably an hour to 2 hours a night and not all at the same time. And so that's when it would really ramp up the nerve pain. And there just was no sleeping. And so after 18 months of that, I remember the 18th month mark, I went into my kitchen and I just threw a tantrum. And I started screaming and crying out to God that I can't take anymore. There's no way for me to take any more of this. And that night I asked him to take my life. I did a lot of crying as I was trying to sleep every night. And then I asked him, please take my life. And he didn't.
Thankfully, you wouldn't be here today to tell us this story.
He wasn't going to honor that one.
No.
No, he wasn't going to honor that one. So I started praying for head to toe healing. And I would lay hands on myself, and people would lay hands on me. And it was a very long process. Things started to get better, but it was still very relevant, the nerve pain. And so I started praying for head to toe. This is mine. I'm asking for head to toe healing. That's what I'm asking for myself. Because I usually pray for others, and then sometimes we forget about ourselves.
That's
And
right.
so that's when I just, if the two things that I prayed the most was make me a strong vessel for my family and for the community, the nation, whoever you want me to touch, make me a strong vessel. And that would be a gut-wrenching cry. It was a gut-wrenching prayer. It was the most important thing that I could think of possibly that I would want. So that would be my prayer. And then I started asking for head to toe healing. Head to toe healing, that it was mine, and I knew it, and I knew he didn't want me like this. Well, I'll go back a few weeks before I went to the Mario Murillo Tent Crusade in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I did not yet know that I was going. I did not know Mario Murillo. I've seen him teach twice on YouTube, but I knew nothing about him, and I didn't know he was coming, and I didn't know that I was going. So I had a dream. I do events for a living. So big corporate events, ministry events. And so they're very detailed and behind the scenes. If anybody works on events, they know that nobody knows just how much you actually do. So sometimes I have dreams where I'm setting up for an event. So this time I had a dream that I was setting up and preparing for Mario Murillo to come. And in the dream, I was just waiting by the tables for Mario Murillo to come. And when I woke up, I thought, well, how random that it would be Mario Murillo. I don't even know him, you know?
Yeah.
So I just left it there. And then a couple weeks later, a friend asked me if I wanted to go to Mario Murillo in Eau Claire, and I saw all the speakers as well, Lance Wallnau and several other really amazing speakers. So I said, yes, I want to go. So we ended up going, and I was only going to be able to stay for 2 days. So that would have been the Saturday we got there and the Sunday. Well, a week and a half prior to that, a prophet spoke over me and he said, "You're going to be healed from head to toe soon." And then he said, "And many are going to see this."
Okay, so
Like
hold on just a
many.
second. You have been praying head to toe healing, and now
Yeah.
you're at some meeting, and this prophetic word is said exactly those words. Now, for those that are watching that are going, well, yeah, that's because she's running around saying it all the time, head to toe
No,
healing,
I never say.
healing. Okay, so this was in your prayer closet with
Yeah,
the Lord, and this.
never told anybody.
So now this prophet man or woman, was it a man?
Man,
Or,
yeah.
okay, a man.
Hmm.
So this man calls you out in a meeting and says, "You're going to be healed head to toe." That must have sent like shivers through your whole body, because he didn't know what your prayer has been, but you knew that God knew. So you had to know that that was not just somebody trying to come up with something to say, but that was straight from the heart of God to you, because that was your prayer. But then after that, it said that many were going to see this, and you have
You
no idea
said man.
what that
I
means.
didn't know what that, I did not know what that meant. He
Oh
said
my God.
many. He said many are going to see this. And then
Wow.
he said, and he stressed this so much, I just went, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but he said, and they will know that you are the anointed. Be encouraged, woman of God. And he said 5 times, be encouraged, woman of God.
My
So I thought it was amazing. And I thought it was amazing that head to toe healing, it's been a long time coming. And so I was very thrilled to hear that, but I still left it in the hands of God and kept moving forward. And so we we get to Mario Murillo Tent Crusade, and it's very hot. It's like 98 degrees or something.
God.
It's just very hot. But there is a ginormous tent, and there's 2,500 seats in it, and then a lot of seats outside of the tent. So there were just a couple, 3,000 at least. There was so many people there, and the grounds were just very large. And so we're there Saturday, and he came out and spoke. He wasn't going to be there Saturday, but he ended up there Saturday. And so he taught and spoke and preached that night for several hours, and it was great. And then the next night we were there is when he was officially supposed to start. And so we got to hear all of the speakers that were just amazing. I mean, hands down, the best conference I've ever been to.
Wow.
All of those speakers, and I loved seeing the pastor that he's Polish, I believe, and he's from Canada, and they had put him in prison for closing his church during COVID. He was there. Artur Pawlowski, I believe is the way it's pronounced. He was the most inspiring speaker I've ever heard in my whole life. So
Wow.
that was a big plus for me to hear him. And in fact, the local news came and it was to interview him solely. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
But so the third day comes and I'm getting ready to leave because I have to go back to work in Minneapolis. So, but something tells me to stay. And let me tell you that I did not put the dream of setting up and preparing for Mario Murillo to come with this event. I didn't for some reason. And I get a lot of dreams and visions, awake visions, but I didn't put that together. I thought, oh, how random that I'm preparing for Mario Murillo to come. It's like setting up for him. Okay. But I didn't think about it again. So,
Sure.
third day, I'm getting ready to leave. The Lord tells me not to leave, stay. I don't want you to stay, So I stayed. I called my boss and told her that I wasn't coming back that day, and she was fine with it. And so that night, it's packed. It's like a sea of people. That's what it even looked like on the replay, just a sea of people. And I'm in the middle section, and the sections are ginormous. And I'm in the way back, probably the fourth row from the back, and right in the middle of a bunch of people. And I'm looking down and I'm thinking to myself without saying out loud, I hope he calls out spine injuries. And that a lot of people will be healed of spine injuries tonight. And so I just had a fleeting thought of that and then left it. And then at the very end of the night, he puts his arm out to the middle section and he says, I'm speaking to the middle section back and I'm calling out spine injuries. I don't want anyone to stand up with a joint pain. I'm calling out spine injuries. And so I stood up, and so did many people around me. So I'm really short, and all these people were really were really tall. So I'm, they're all in front of me. And so that was fine because I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm going like this. Oh, I can't wait. I have my hands over my face like this.
Yeah.
And then he says, blonde girl in the back, you with your hands like this. You're the one God told me about. You're the one he showed me, because apparently he prays in the spirit a couple of days or on the way to each crusade, and there'll be a specific person or a few people that God tells him he's going to touch that day. And
Wow.
so that was really big when he said, you're the one God told me about. He said, would I come out? He said, you have scoliosis, and you're going to be healed of that today. And I just kind of sort of sinked to the ground crying, because it was amazing, because I did have a new pain for the last couple of years that was upper behind my neck, and it wasn't nerve pain. It was something different. And I would go to the chiropractor and they'd say that it's curved over. Let's try to get this back, to normal. I didn't think anything of it except for the fact that it was getting really painful, but it wasn't nerve pain. It was a different kind of pain,
Sure.
like a bone pain or something. And so he calls me up to the front and he says, oh, and I have to tell you guys this though. Before I left, it was a couple weeks before, I said out loud in my room, because I always pray in my room and I never tell people like what I'm praying. I said, how am I going to do the calling you have for me with this nerve pain, with this spine issue?
Wow.
How am I going to do it? And so he calls me down and he says, you are being healed for a purpose. It is due to the calling on your life. So he actually God answered that right through him. And it was amazing. And then he said that I had been hit 3 times. In 3 different places, and he named them, and that was exactly right. It was exactly where I had been hit. And he said that the injury had caused scoliosis later on, because I didn't tell anybody that it had been 15 years. But he said it, and you're being healed of that. And also, it's not just that. You're being healed of your stomach issue. That was really big, because I did have such a severe stomach issue. I don't have that anymore. Anyways, he also said, and the dizziness is going to go too. And so he said, and the tingling in your legs, gone. All of that. He named these things. And I haven't had the issue since that very night. I haven't had these symptoms since that very night. And then he said, I never do this, but I want you to stay standing and I want the rest of everyone to sit down, because I'm going to have a woman come out that you're going to lay hands on her and she's going to be healed. You're going to see the power of God in you. And so this woman comes out and he tells me not to pray for her, to command it out. And so I have to drink some water. Excuse me. So she comes out, and I knew right away that she was going to be healed. And so I start commanding out the issue that she's having out of her body, and that it must leave now in Jesus' name. That it's interfered with her life, and it's out of here now. And she ended up just hugging me so hard, and I knew she was healed, and so did she. And she did not walk hunched over when she left there, which was really amazing. So it was just a night where I felt like I needed somebody to pinch me. Somebody pinch me. So,
Oh my gosh.
but
Okay,
then,
Darcy, I want to just interrupt you for just a moment.
yes,
So
please.
this, the minister, and that was, which minister was it that told you, they called you out? That was
Mario Murillo.
Mario. Okay, I wanted to make sure it was that I had the right one.
Mhm.
Okay, so Mario calls you out, calls you down there. This is totally in line with this word that you had prophetically given to you,
Mhm.
but also that everyone would know that you're anointed. So now Mario has everybody sit down and you minister healing and deliverance to this other woman. Okay, so now
Mhm.
when she came out, did you say she was hunched over when she came out, or she wasn't hunched over?
No,
When
she wasn't anymore when she
okay, when
walked
she was
away.
but when
Yes,
she came out, you could tell there was something physically going
yes,
on.
yes, there
Once
was.
you ministered to her, then she left. She was standing up. She was everything. Wow. Okay. So I just want
Yes.
to connect the dots for everybody
Mhm.
who's listening and watching, that there was something pretty that this absolutely follows suit, and that you had the dream about getting things ready for Mario Murillo, and that you're wondering, like, why would she have that dream? Well, you see, God was preparing her. So it was about her getting prepared. And God didn't even say, okay, now I need you to get prepared for this. He just gave her this dream about getting prepared. She kind of went, set it aside. But even though she might not have understood what all of that meant then,
Mhm.
always have full understandings, 2020 when we look back, then we're like,
Yes.
oh, hindsight's 2020. But
Mhm.
you were being prepared by God all along,
Yes.
but God was letting you know that you, Darcy, were preparing for Mario Murillo and didn't even know it. You might not have
Yep.
been praying. You could have even been, as you're praying in the spirit, you could have even been praying for those meetings. You could have been praying for him to hear from God for you. I mean, you just don't know what God's doing in that format of praying in tongues and stuff. But I just wanted to hit a mile marker here and say, okay, everyone, this is so exciting, and we're only at the tip of the iceberg right now. But realize that she had this word given to her prophetically, and now we have stepped into this final part of the word, is that everyone would know, many would know and see that she's anointed. Okay, please continue. I just had to connect those dots because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Also, it's funny because there was another thing that the prophet said. He said, and you're going to be apprehensive to do what looks to me in the spirit like some sort of podcast, but the Lord is telling me to tell you to do it. I just love that. Um, so, but that night, I did not know that there were several people there from a ministry that I used to work at for several years, including the pastor. He was in a whole other state. He wasn't going to be there, and I had no idea until the very end when they were all standing up and came over to hug me. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I saw that people started messaging me and texting me saying, I just saw you. I just saw what happened. And it was people I haven't heard from in a long time. And one of them said, I'm coming out there tomorrow. I saw what happened. and she actually dealt with cancer for years. She said, I'm driving out there tomorrow. And so it was encouragement to so many people, you know. That was amazing. And apparently this was live streamed on Sid Roth that night. And so, and that's what Mario Murillo had said, that his good friend Sid Roth was live streaming the whole thing. And then it was on Lance Wallnau's Facebook page, just about the part of my healing, which I was like, this is a little, this is really a lot. And so it got, I don't know how many views, but it was seen by many people. And so it was so good that I, all the way back to the hotel with my three girlfriends, I was saying, did that just happen? That just happened. Pinch me. I it was so much, it felt like just like a little kid having the biggest birthday party in the whole entire world. That's what it felt like, you know? And if people don't know this, but when I was really little, I was sitting in my backyard and I was looking up at the sky and I heard an audible voice say, the number 3 is going to be very big in your life. And I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what it meant until I got much older. I never looked for numbers. Like, I'm not the kind of person that points out a number that's somehow on a billboard somewhere and thinks that that's for me. It's not like that. It actually just effortlessly happens constantly. I have 3 children. I have 3 grandchildren. I had a great dream when I was 21 that the last part of my journey, I was stepping up 3 steps of the mountain and made it to the top, the last 3 steps. And my girlfriends, there were 3 of us. And it was very important that they were there because they actually really do love me like I love them as well, and care and are excited when you are blessed. I'm excited when they're blessed. And that was very hard to come by in my life. So it was important that it was actually those 3 for some reason. And my best friend, she wrote down the exact time that he called me out at 8:38. And so it was extremely just an amazing weekend. And then that night, we went back to the hotel room. So there's 4 of us in the hotel room. And I'm having this very brief dream of being with 3 women and a great big, like a balloon that it was huge that popped and it made a bang that was so loud that I just went, ooh, but confetti just poured out of it. And as I was waking up, the words I was saying was, you're going to go out with a bang. And it was like under my breath, you know? And it was so funny because just not even a second later, we hear this big bang in the hotel room, and someone had put a 7-Up can in the freezer, and the refrigerator door flew open, and this can came flying out. And Donna and I stood up and went and looked and went, what the heck? So it was like that same stifling bang after that, because it was so loud, but it was all so very good, very prophetic, exciting. It it was really quite a weekend to remember. And so I did not, that was the first night that I did not wake up from tingling in my legs that would wake me right back up. I did not have that. I have not had that since. I have not had that pain in the bone up on top, not once. I have not had that searing, burning pain down the lower spine, not once. I haven't been dizzy, and I do not have that stomach issue at all. And so that is like not, I did not expect that. Everything's been a process in my life. I do believe that in what the Lord is doing, I do trust Him with my life and my children's lives. But I did not expect it to be so, like, wow, I haven't had that since, you know. So very excited about that, and just want people to know that it's a timing thing. I have to tell you that I think I really had to go through it to come from it. I really did, and that's because it's me. I'm just saying the way that I had to be worked with. I learned from that. I gained a mega amount of compassion for people through that pain.
Sure.
It really did. But it's also worth it, How can I be mad?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so a couple of things that I just wanted to circle back to that you said that I thought was so relevant was number one, you were not you didn't go to that conference looking for a healing. No, there's nothing wrong with doing that. If God's telling you out there to go here, that he's going to meet you there, that he's got something there for you, you go. But my point is that Darcy was not on this like a dog on a bone about going to this conference. She didn't even know this conference was in existence. But she has always known the promise of God is yes and amen. And as long as I've known Darcy, she has known that what she was struggling with in her body was temporary. Even, 15 years is a long time in our earth walk for temporary, but to God, it's like that, right? But you always talked about yourself as someone who was walking into your miracle. You talked about yourself as someone that was healed, but you weren't looking everywhere. Well, is it going to be there? Is it going to happen there? Is it going to happen here? You just continued to keep that confession of your faith and be patient in your waiting, and knowing that God was going to bring it to pass. So if you are in a place today where you're like, when God, when, where God, where, I just want you to think about Darcy and how she continued to make that statement of faith, which I wrote down, was that she would be healed. Thank you, God, that I am healed from head to toe. Thank you, God, that these were things that she was saying over and over again in her prayer closet. And that became rhema to her. It became real to her, more real than the symptoms that she was facing. And when there were times where she was feeling that urgency of that call on her life, then she would come back to God and she would say, I'm paraphrasing, I've said yes, but you need to take care of this. Like,
Yes.
how am I supposed to go do these things for you with these things? Now, I'll do them for you anyways, whatever. But with what I feel you're asking me to do, this needs to be taken care of. So these were things that she was always carrying and pondering like Mary in her heart, but she wasn't necessarily out always looking for it. In fact, if you remember, Darcy said when they called out spinal injuries, that she had already said, gosh, Lord, I'm praying that you would call out spinal injuries because I want to see people healed. She didn't say, because I want to be healed. No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. We should all be looking out. You have to advocate for yourself. You need to advocate for you because you are the best one to do that. But on the same shoe on the other foot, I did not hear somebody here. I didn't hear a woman saying, oh, I call it out because I need it. I heard the heart of God coming from her, and that was that others need it. And so there is this selflessness, not a unholy martyrdom, okay, not that kind of thing, because there's a holy martyrdom and then there's unholy martyrdom. You know what I mean? Like where people are
I do.
I'm suffering for God. No, there was this holy sensitivity of and selflessness of Lord, like heal, call it out, because I want to see people set free of this because I know what it's like.
Yes.
And here you were included in that. You didn't even know it. And so, my gosh. So those of you out there listening, watching, don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on that healing. Don't give up on what God has placed in your heart. Continue in your prayer closet to make those requests known. Continue to petition the Lord about it. Continue to thank him for it. and just trusting and knowing that he who has begun a good work in you is going to be faithful to bring it to completion. And then
Yes.
Darcy said, timing. God's timing is everything. And, my spiritual father, Papa Joe Jordan, who's in heaven now, he used to say that all the time, Darcy. He would say, there are some healings that God desires to manifest publicly because that's what he wants to do. And it's not to make just a big woo-woo about the son or daughter that he's healing, but it's the ripple effects. It's the collateral positive impact. It's what is going to happen after that and how that healing even is going to just launch that person into the next best rest part of their ministry, right? That God has for them. And so I just wanted to circle back to these things that Darcy has brought up because they're really important, because when you're hurting, when your body is suffering, it can be easy to get caught off track or to get sucked up in all of that and think, what have I done wrong? Am I sinning somewhere? All of these wrong thoughts that come to us. And
Yes.
instead of being able to truly, completely, 100% trust in the Lord and just keep on keeping on the best that you can. And that's what you've always done. That's how I've always known you, is you just a go-getter and you're just going after what you have can-do power. You can do all things.
Join us next week for part 2 with Darcy Frederick.
Thank you for joining us for Purpose by Design with Dr. Pamela Henkel. You can learn more about Dr. Pamela and her world at purposewithpamela.com. See you next time on Purpose by Design.